What's up, everybody? I'm Stefan Tosic. Welcome to another episode of Buzz and Agency, where we explain mysteries of human perception and how can we use those to create better interfaces. Today we cover frames, why are they important, what's the psychology behind the frames, and how can you frame your design so it's not intrusive like this or this. Let's go! Isolation edition. So if you're thinking now, why would I even want to frame my design? Let me just remind you why are frames so important. Frames give design a structure. Frame activates the space. Frames can attract attention of people to content inside of them. They can create an expansive feel, like something important must be in them. Frame can give completeness to design and even a context. And it can create a sense of organization and intention. For example, I'm purposely placed here instead of here because I have a frame from my window. Also, what we learned from our Instagram posts and what we learned from our previous video, everything that is placed in a frame looks a bit better. Okay, now we know how important frames are. Let's talk about examples, how they shouldn't be used, and then we can talk about invisible frames. You can't always put strong frames into your design, especially in a UI design. There is no need to attract attention that much because we are already looking at the interface. We want to avoid interfaces where everything is fighting for your attention and there is no hierarchy of information. Here's pro UI tip. Remember this if not anything else. The more subtle the app is, the more expensive it looks. And that leads us to subtle ways of using the frame. I want to show you the way how you can create frames that are not obvious, and invisible frames, how I like to call them, and what's the psychology behind them. Are you ready? What? Really? Are you mind blown like I was when I first noticed this? So these small elements are creating the frame for this interface, and you can see it everywhere. So what is the least amount of elements that your brain will connect to an invisible frame? Okay, let's say we have design with visible frame here. If we remove one line, it is still visible, two lines still visible, all lines, okay, now it's not visible, and we still connect dots as a frame. Is there a possibility to go even more minimalistic from this? Would you say no? Well, it's possible. We can remove this dot here and it will still be a frame. Keep that in mind when you're designing landing pages. So pro UI tip, at least 3 dots are necessary for invisible frame. Books use hyphens as third dot for the frame, and this text and lines of the paragraph, this repetition creates a line. So why we perceive these elements as a part of being a frame? Answer is in Gestalt psychology. We won't go deep in Gestalt psychology, that's a good idea for a future video. So I will just say the good thing is to know the difference between Gestalt principles and design principles. Difference is that Gestalt psychology explains how we perceive things. Design principles are rules how design works. How one applies these principles determines how successful a design may be. Gestalt principles explain us how we perceive those things. So further on, I will explain invisible frames and why we perceive them like that because of the Gestalt principles. The reason number one is the law of continuity states that objects aligned along the line or curve are perceived as belonging together, and we will perceive the simplest smooth path rather than a complex path. This is why we perceive this navbar as one line. Second reason is law of closure, explains why incomplete figures are perceived as complete or whole. And that's why we perceive couple of elements as a frame. So next time you want to create dope looking website or app, create an invisible frame. So here's another pro UI tip. When you use text to create an invisible frame, make sure that all text is small size and same height. So that's it. How did you like video? Let us know in the comments. If you want to learn more about UI and psychology behind it, subscribe with the bell. And that's it. See you in the next episode.